Brady, the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Pennsylvania, joins us this morning. Scott, of course, with his kids, enjoying the summer, I'm sure, because, Scott, last time you were on with us, you told us you and the kids are having a great time this summer. It's your wife that's struggling with this because she has to put up with you and them.
Yes, hi, Todd. How are you?
Wonderful.
Yeah, summer's going well. We haven't been able to do our Griswold family cross-country vacation like we normally do each year, but I got a call yesterday in the middle of the day from my wife that said my 10-year-old broke his finger on a slip and slide, so summer must be going well.
Our conversation with U.S. Attorney Brady brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Hey, serious subject, Scott. We saw this note last week about human trafficking and what you have done in order to address what is a very serious issue. Our former district attorney, Pat Doherty, first brought this to our attention a year or so ago. Human trafficking is a real concern, not just where one might think in border states, but right here in Western PA. Outline the issue for us, if you would.
Sure. It is a huge issue and one that sadly often remains unseen, because when we think of human trafficking, we think of the Liam Neeson movie Taken, where someone's abducted, they're taken overseas to a foreign country and forced into some kind of sex slavery ring, or we think of Jeffrey Epstein. But it's much more widespread than that. Human trafficking is estimated to be a $150 billion industry worldwide. And there are victims in every state and every county in Pennsylvania. And it's not only sex trafficking, right? It's labor trafficking. We see it in the food industry, in farming, construction, domestic work. And we do see it in sex trafficking, where women and sometimes children are forced against their will to engage in sex acts. And it's right off of major highways. It's in every town and every area. And so we're trying to not only build awareness of this issue, but build an infrastructure with our state and local partners to address this and identify it and attack it wherever we find it.
So what is your approach, this new initiative that you've formed?
We launched a new initiative called Operation 10, which is Trafficking Ends Now. And the goal is to create a model that's similar to what we've been doing with our drug prosecutions, where it's locally led and federally supported, where we partner with our district attorneys, we meet with CYF, universities, any stakeholders. Churches are doing fantastic work in raising awareness of human trafficking. And then we also partner with medical providers, and I know your wife is in the medical industry, with schools, universities, victim-centered organizations, and create county coalitions. So that's one of the models that has been successful around the country and in certain counties in Pennsylvania, where there's a county coalition of all of these stakeholders that meets on a regular basis, meets with law enforcement and prosecutors, so that we have a system of support and referral, not only for investigations and prosecutions, but as or more importantly for victim services, because when victims are identified, to make sure that they don't slip away or take off, which inhibits our ability to prosecute, that they can get the services and the support and the counseling that they need.
It's a bunch of resources all brought together, and I'm sure that when the group does get together, and I don't even know if they have yet as a group yet, I'm assuming it would be by Zoom, but the different perspectives that they bring from their counties, from more urban counties to more rural counties, they might find out that there aren't all that many differences between what each is experiencing.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And we've talked with partners, with coalitions in Newcastle and in Lawrence County and in Beaver County that are right on the border of Ohio. And we see a lot of trafficking coming from Youngstown and gangs and drug trafficking organizations from Detroit and Cleveland. But the issues are the same. You know, folks coming across major interstates and or coming into more rural counties are looking to escape the view of law enforcement, right? They're trying to make money. They're trying to run their business in a way that, not unlike drug trafficking, avoids the eye of state and local officials. And so you're right. The principles are the same. What we're looking for is the same. and hopefully our approach can be replicated throughout Western PA.
It's ironic, isn't it, that as we improve infrastructure in Pennsylvania, and we think of the improvements to Route 22 between Pittsburgh and Altoona, it's now 4 lanes the whole way. Route 119 from Blairsville here to Indiana, all of the different improvements to the highways, the expansion of highway programs actually opens up opportunity for people who are not exactly the best of citizens, people who can exploit that for their own purposes.
That's absolutely right. And we see that, again, the interstate commerce piece of this and the labor trafficking, where you have folks who are sometimes coming into the country illegally and are being exploited by people who keep their passports, keep them confined in certain areas, give them limited travel. They don't speak the language. They're worried about their immigration status, so they're not going to reach out to law enforcement. And those folks are victims of trafficking as much as women who are being taken across state lines and forced into prostitution. But on the sex trafficking piece, Todd, we really see this as an outgrowth of the explosion of drug trafficking, right?
Mm-hmm.
As the cartels expand into Western Pennsylvania, and we are fighting tooth and nail to keep them out, but they have pretty established distribution channels throughout the United States. And with that comes the attendant violence that we're all aware of and fighting against, but also sex trafficking. Whether local gangs or whether cartels, they usually have women that that are addicted to opioids a lot of times, that are forced to either make money for the gangs and the cartels or to service the sexual needs of those gang members. And so we're trying to, as we break up these gangs and these drug trafficking organizations, also attack sex trafficking and human trafficking.
One of the things about it is that it takes a long time to develop an investigation. This thing doesn't happen overnight. It's rare that you actually stop a truck and find a whole bunch of people inside of it who are illegals and who are being used in this way. So tell me about how an investigation would unfold.
Well, a lot of times we will get a tip from someone in a community, from a neighbor or from a local business that sees activity that just doesn't seem right to them. Again, they might see signs of physical abuse on a person's body. They might see someone with another person that's clearly controlling them, that's speaking for them. And so we'll get that tip, and then we will engage with our local partners to start to unpack that. One of the most challenging pieces of prosecuting these kinds of cases is the victim is scared. Sometimes they develop almost a Stockholm syndrome relationship with their abuser and trafficker, where they think that he loves her, he's trying to protect her and take care of her. In other areas like massage parlors, we see people being moved all the time. So victims that we might see and want to interview and have cooperate with us, they might, be moved from one part of Pennsylvania to a whole nother state or a whole nother part of the country. So there are a lot of challenges to these kinds of cases. They're tough cases to make, but the abuse that the victims go through is so terrible that they're righteous cases, even if they're difficult to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, we want the full force of the law behind it. You mentioned the fact that there will be some federal support in order to make this all happen. That's really, really important, especially when you consider the whole interstate nature of human trafficking, isn't it?
Absolutely. And we have resources. The Department of Justice has been giving grants out. Indiana County and the Indiana Police Department were the recipients of some federal resources recently, which we were very excited about. But there are not only grant resources for local partners and advocacy groups that are dealing with human trafficking that we want to help get to Western Pennsylvania. We want to help get to Indiana County. But then the big hammer is when we can prosecute these cases federally. As you're aware, Todd, our penalties are substantial in federal court, and there's pretrial detention, which people don't always understand. What that means is there's no right to bail in the federal system. If you are a danger to the community and the judge finds that, you can be held without bail before your trial starts. Why that's important is because victims are often then fearful once this investigation and prosecution begins. They may not want to cooperate if they're, and same, we see this in domestic violence all the time as well. If their abuser or their trafficker is being released, then they're less likely to come forward and be willing to testify or come to grand jury. So we have that, and then also no parole, right? If you get 15 years in federal prison, you're doing 15 years. So that's where we can bring resources and investigate things that leave the county, leave the state with some of the tools we have, and why our partnership with Bob Manzi's office has been so effective in drug trafficking. We hope we can replicate that on the human trafficking side as well.
Yeah, that whole non-bailable aspect of this is really, really a key because, my goodness, not only does the victim have that sort of assurance, but also, these guys have, they've got all kinds of networks in order to make their way out and avoid prosecution. So if you can keep them locked up, that's a good thing. Scott Brady, thank you so much for spending some time with us. We wish you the best with this. It's a very, very important issue.
No, thank you, Todd. And again, we have great partners in Indiana. We're looking forward to building that infrastructure, that coalition, and doing what we can to keep folks safe.
It's good stuff. Scott, have a great day.
All right. Thanks, Todd. Take care.
Bye now.
Bye.
Scott Brady, U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Pennsylvania.